Welcome to Talking with the Experts. This is where we discuss great ideas to take your business to the next level. How do we know these ideas work? Well, it's because we're talking with business owners who are using these ideas. Business owners who have years of experience and expertise. All things business by business owners for business owners. And now, here is your host, Rose Davidson.
In episode 423, Sarah Byrne discusses how syncing your menstrual cycle to your business will bring more productivity and profit.
So I have a theory, and I'm a little bit newer to incorporating the human design into this, but I have a theory that when we look at our authority, so whether it's your profile, not profile lines, your authority. If it's like you're a reflector or a projector, you may find that you have a lot less energy around your bleed than, say, a generator or a manifesting generator. And so those types will have to really pay attention to their energy, because I'm a manifesting generator and I know that I really struggle with the idea of I'm either on all cylinders or I'm dead. So it's almost as if I am programmed for burnout in this society, because my body doesn't understand what it needs to do to just rest.
Talking with the Experts.
Hi, I'm Rose Davidson from Talking with the Experts. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Global Glamping Charities for their valued support. Global Glamping Charities, solving homelessness in all its forms. Reach out to them at globalglamping.org. Do you love your podcast and dislike the editing and uploading to the various platforms? Would you like to spend this time with your family and friends or work on your business? Podcast editing doesn't have to be a chore. Talking with the Experts partners with podcasters who need help with audio and content editing. If you'd like to know more, contact me, Rose Davidson, using the link showing now, or send me a private message. Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. I'm your host, Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners. You can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. Now, I'd like to ask the women out there especially, have you ever thought about using your monthly cycle to be more productive and more profitable with your business? Well, my next guest, Sarah Byrne, is going to discuss with us how syncing our cycles to our businesses will bring more productivity and profit. Now, Sarah has been guiding women to create massive change by syncing energy and cycles for over 9 years now. She helps to create the best life and business that you can dream of, and she uses the menstrual cycle awareness, human design, health and life coaching to achieve this. She's been there and she's done it all. So let her take the guesswork out of it for you, and let's find out a little bit more about how we can do this. Hey, Sarah, how are you?
Oh, good morning or good evening. I'm great. How are you?
Good afternoon, depends on where you are. Now, I've not heard of using my menstrual cycle to align my business goals and profitability. How do we do that? And what brought you into, how did you work out how to do that?
So what brought me to just any kind of awareness around my cycle is really not having very nice ones. I have never been one to get on with hormonal birth control. After having my daughter, I went on and off different pills and then decided to try the Mirena coil. It literally made me crazy. And so I had it removed, and I knew that there must be something better. And I discovered menstrual cycle awareness. And in true line one of human design fashion, I deep dove into all things menstrual cycles. I learned all about my hormones. I learned about all these cool things that you can sort of glean from your menstrual cycle, and how as women, we aren't supposed to be the same sort of linear cycle with our energy, because our hormones are up and down all the time. And so, yeah, it was really just, it was out of necessity of not being able to really function with a cycle in the way that I wanted to be able to. And discovering that has been, I mean, I discovered that about 11 years ago, 10 years ago, and it has just changed everything.
Yeah, so how, I guess, question would be, how could we align our cycles to our business?
Yes.
To me, it sounds a bit airy fairy woo woo sort of thing. However, I know that that our cycles do dictate our moods and our productivity and all those sorts of things. So there must be something correlation between them.
Yeah, well, our hormones, right? Like you are going to have a lot more hormone and a lot more energy and a lot more vivacity, and you're going to be va-va-voom when you're ovulating, because the whole point is that your body wants to make a baby, okay? You're going to have a lot less of that when you are on your period or you're bleeding. So I always like to talk about it in seasons, because I think people find it a lot easier to understand your body in seasons because we know the seasons outside. It's a lot more difficult and a lot less likely that you will embody the words of the medicinal term. So follicular, luteal, you can, and people do, it's just not what's natural to me. So if we're talking about our business, so in your winter, which is from day one of your actual bleed for 5 or 7 days, you're not going to have a huge amount of energy. You might have some energy and you may want to do stuff, but you might also have brain fog and be a little bit more dreamy and want to rest a bit more. So this is a great time to think about what it is you want to bring to life. So there were societies back in the day that would actually go to women and go to the red tent when they were bleeding for the prophecies, for the fortune telling, or for the future seeing, should I say. And they really believed and revered these women because we can be quite prophetic in our bleed. You might have more dreams, you might have more ideas come to you. So this is a real time to almost buckle down, be restful. Don't try to launch in your bleed. It's probably, I mean, you can, obviously, you can do what you want, but you may find that it's a lot nicer and a lot easier and a lot more natural, and you've got more energy to launch at other points in your cycle. So then after your bleed, so 5 to 7 days, every woman is different, right? You're then coming into your spring. And what happens in spring? Flowers start to bloom and to blossom, and the birds start to chirp, and things start to come out of hibernation. So in winter, you're hibernating, and in spring, rather, you're coming out of that hibernation. So this is a time when you find that your energy is a lot higher. You can burn the candle at both ends and not burn yourself out. Caution, don't do that too much because you will still burn out, but you will have a massive sort of shooting up in your energy. So this is a really great time to do research. It's a great time to start new habits. It's a great time to start talking about a launch if you're going to be launching. And then as you move through your cycle, you then move into your ovulatory or your summer. And in your summer, what do you want to do? You want to put on your nicest dress, you want to go out with your friends, you want to have a beer in the garden, you want to get your eyebrows waxed, like whatever, like you want to be seen. Well, when do you want to be seen in your business? When you're launching, when you're doing podcasts, when you're doing interviews, when you're doing webinars. And again, your cycle is supporting you in being the best version of you in this time. So you want to be seen, you want to be out there, you want to be articulate, you want to be funny, because your body wants you to be in the company of others. So it makes it a lot more natural to launch in this phase. And then as you come into your autumn, which is the longest phase of your cycle, this is when you really want to start to bring it in. You want to start to dot your I's and cross your T's. If you've launched, this is when you're going to be doing a little bit of that back work of getting everything ready to start, etc. And so that's really the gist of it. You work with your own natural cycle as and when you like. And it's not like every single month it's going to be bang on, bang on. It does have fluctuations. There are things that happen that cause your cycle to not be exactly the same every month and every day. But the beauty of it is that you learn your body and you start to work with your energy as opposed to against it. And so if you're looking at your month as a cycle, you know that you bleed at this point. You can guess that you're going to have time at this point to launch or whatever it is. And then you know you've got these couple of weeks or these, 10 days to wrap everything up and to get ready for your next bleed. And then, does that make sense?
Absolutely, yes. It clarified it very nicely. Thank you. I understood a lot more than medical terms. I mean, even though a lot of us know the medical terms, it's easy to talk about in the seasons, and it was
yes.
Everyone can understand that. And that's quite it's quite intriguing, really, how our bodies, sort of not dictate, well, it does dictate, how we're feeling and how, working in our business can, be aligned to that. And yeah, it actually does make perfect sense. But, how can women who have, irregular cycles, which, some have them every couple of weeks, they have their bleed every couple of weeks, or some have them every 6 or 8 weeks, how can they then, work out their business if their cycles aren't on a regular basis?
So multiple ways. I think the whole idea of menstrual cycle awareness and aligning your life with your cycle is that you're understanding your own body's cues. So it doesn't matter if you are on hormonal birth control or you've gone through the menopause and you are now postmenopausal and you don't actually bleed. The crux of it is getting you to pay attention to your body. So anyone can start to notice the signs of energy ramping up, or you will feel sexier. You will feel like you want to go out. You will feel like you want, like I always know when I'm coming up to ovulation, because it's like, oh, I want to fix my hair, or I want to put makeup on. Like I never want to do that kind of stuff. So you start to understand your own cyclical rhythm. So it doesn't matter if your cycle is a 40-day cycle or a 28-day cycle. You will start to understand it. If you don't bleed and you want to start learning or trying to understand a little bit more of your cyclical nature, you can start with the new moon and you can class that as day 1 of your bleed. And then the full moon, give or take, is around your ovulation. And so you can start to work on it in that way and start to notice. I would say my clients track and write down their symptoms or what they notice about themselves for 3 months, and then they can start to notice a pattern, right? It might take you 6 months. Doesn't really matter how long it takes you, as long as you are taking 5 minutes during the day or on the morning to wake up or when you wake up, to check in with yourself. Because I think the biggest challenge that women have is the check-in. We are so used to providing support and resources for other people that when we do it for ourselves, or we ask to be resourced or we ask to be supported, we instantly feel guilty because we should be able to do it all. And that isn't how society is. Like, it's not right. So if your cycle is irregular, I would say to start on the new moon as your day 1, and then go up, and then ovulation would be the full moon, and just start to check in with yourself.
How can we use human design to, equally come together with our cycle?
So I have a theory, and I'm a little bit newer to incorporating the human design into this, but I have a theory that when we look at our authority, so whether it's your profile, not profile lines, your authority. If it's like you're a reflector or a projector, you may find that you have a lot less energy around your bleed than, say, a generator or a manifesting generator. And so those types will have to really pay attention to their energy, because I'm a manifesting generator, and I know that I really struggle with the idea of I'm either on all cylinders or I'm dead. So it's almost as if I am programmed for burnout in this society, because my body doesn't understand what it needs to do to just rest. And so that's kind of how we incorporated a little bit more about looking at what your overall sort of design is and how you can start to incorporate ways and tricks and techniques to improve your relationship with your body and your cycle.
Interesting indeed. I know I've done 2 human design charts. Both were different in lots of ways. So does it matter what mood you're in when you actually complete the questionnaire?
So the human design chart is a little bit like a natal chart. So it's based off of the location of birth, the time of birth, and the date of birth. So it matters quite a lot if you're looking at the variables for the like the time of birth. And a lot of people really struggle with the time of birth. In the States, it's actually on our birth certificate, so it makes it a little bit easier. In the United Kingdom, where I live, it's not. So you're kind of
having... It wasn't in Canada either, so I don't know.
Yeah, so you're kind of having to rely on people. And I'll be honest, like if I hadn't written my daughters down, I probably wouldn't remember. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter so much if you're not worried about the variables, which are the arrows at the top. But your chart shouldn't change that much if you know where you were born, what time, and when. So like I was born in Mississippi on the 25th of June. You can type all of that in. I do know what time I was born, so I'm able to do that. But my husband doesn't. So we just put in sort of midnight, 6 a.m., noon, 6 p.m. to see how much it changes. And the actual chart itself doesn't change. It's the variables that change.
I think maybe it's the variables that have changed.
Yeah, that would be more likely, I think. And it can change. I was doing a friend's chart and she was like, oh, it's around 6 p.m.-ish. So I was doing just like in 5-minute increments and the variables were changing. It's very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess, you've sort of said how we tune into our bodies to be aware of when we're a productive stage and when we're not, and how we can align that to our business. And we've talked about, when you have a regular cycles or no cycle, what is the best method to use to be able to work out, when you should be more productive and when you should have a bit of quiet time and do some inner reflection. So I guess how in life in general, how can we, balance out our life, our business, and all those things, based on our cycle?
So I think the idea behind it is just looking at your diary and creating boundaries. I think a lot of life needs to be lived with boundaries. We as a society will constantly say yes to things that we really don't want to say yes to, but we do because we don't want to let people down, or we feel that we should, or whatever your reason is. And so I think the biggest challenge for women in particular is saying no to stuff. And being able to look at our menstrual cycle and know I'm actually going to be coming up to my bleed at that point. I don't need to be saying yes to a half marathon at that point. So it's really giving you a crystal ball to be able to look at your months in advance per se and say, well, I don't want to go on holiday these 2 weeks because I'm most likely going to be on my bleed then. And nobody wants to go on a beach holiday when they're, on their bleed. So it's just using the crystal ball really. being able to, and knowing that your cycle may fluctuate. So I'm a 29 day or a 30 day, and I'm every other month, right? Now, as I'm getting older, that is shifting, but being able to understand the cues of my body is making it a little bit easier. So whilst making 6-month predictions is more challenging for me now at the moment, I still have a rough idea of where I'm going to be at in my cycle at any given time. And it changes because life changes, but you just have to go with the flow with that and make sure that you don't overbook yourself all the time. Because if you overbook yourself in your bleed in your spring, you will know about it in your autumn. Like, you will have more challenging PMS symptoms. Even if you don't have them, you may have more challenging. So it's about almost a slowly approach when you're learning about your energy and your body and your cycle, because we're so disconnected from our body and how our bodies work that it might take you a little bit of time, but to know that that time is well spent. Because even if you are coming into perimenopause, or I keep hearing this term midlife, which I really don't like. I call it the homecoming, because to me, it's what it feels like. I think once you hit 40, you start to say, I'm getting rid of all of that stuff that no longer serves me, and I'm coming home to who I truly am. And that is part and parcel with your transition from mother to, I say, my homecoming, into your crone, really.
Very good. Yeah, I can really see the sense and how we, could better attune to our bodies and use our cycles to better, everything in our life, not just ourselves, but our business as well, and work at those times when it's most optimal. Sarah, where can people find you if they wanted to learn more about, tuning their cycle to their business?
Yeah, so I'm over on Instagram at Instagram.com/I am Sarah Byrne. And I have a website as well called sarahbyrnewellness.com. So you can find me there, really. I'm in stories a lot more than I am on the grid, but yeah. And I have a podcast as well. But it's no longer, it's got episodes, but I'm not recording at the moment. So that's just called Sarah Explains It All.
Right, cool. Well, go and look out for that, ladies, and gentlemen too, if you want to learn about, your business partner or your life partner, and how if they've got a business, you might be able to help them too. So there you go. Sarah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have you got some words of wisdom that you'd like to share with our audience?
I think the main thing is that, your menstrual cycle is your 5th vital sign. It is just as important as your blood pressure and your pulse and all of the other vital signs that we have. And ignoring it means you're ignoring your health. Paying attention to it means that you're going to start to live the most vibrant life that you can. So just start to pay attention, and you will find that an entire world opens up. We're not meant to be at war with our bodies. We're meant to live in harmony and peace. So, yeah.
Well done. I like that. That's very good advice. Sarah, thank you once again. And I look forward to talking with you very soon.
Oh, thank you so much.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time. Talking with the Experts.